Pressure continues to mount on President Muhammadu Buhari to sign the Electoral Amendment Bill as governors work to scuttle the process. The Independent National Electoral Commission has warned that a prolonged delay in assenting to the new electoral bill might hinder preparation and smooth conduct of upcoming elections, including the governorship elections in Ekiti and Osun states scheduled for June and July 2022. INEC has further expressed concerns over the proposed area election for the Federal Capital Territory in February next year, which it claims could be affected too if the issues around the bill were not resolved and signed quickly. Well, according to reports, some governors have continued to do all within their reach to prevent President Muhammadu Buhari from signing into law the Electoral Amendment Bill, adjudged to be in the best interest of the nation's democracy because it will whittle down their powers as godfathers in their respective states, as well as break their selfish control and financial manipulation of the local government systems. Well, Rufai, over to you on this story to start.
I mean, Oji, the chicken is coming home to roost now as regards this. And you see, I think we were specific yesterday in the interrogations of Professor Rotimi.
Yes.
When we asked him frontally, do you think this will pass? And he said, oh, everything is well. The president has got great intentions. He's going to sign it and all of that. But with this discovery by D-State this morning, it shows that there's a lot of politicking going on. And maybe watchers of politics in this country that are saying this might be another 2018 episode might not be far from the truth.
Right.
Might not be wrong. Because in 2018, there were interests that abound. All right, albeit then the president was a candidate in that election, and those interests were very strong and poignant. And that is what is happening now. Because everybody felt this was a done deal. After the back and forth, after the lawmakers passing this bill across, and a lot of people thought the president would have just assented to it. But people started to suspect something might be wrong when the president said he was writing to INEC to ask about this. INEC has since written back, and INEC is beginning to express concerns that if something is not done, municipal elections in Abuja and some other areas might be hampered.
Yeah.
So the first question I'd even like to ask is, was it that there was not enough robust deliberation? Was it that the president can't even call in an advisory to talk to him about this bill? Why did he need to write to INEC again? And that's why some watchers are saying this is the long song and dance again. So it is obvious now that this back and forth has started because, on the other hand, the governors are pushing and fighting tooth and nail because they want to control, they want to take power and all of that. And when you look at the antecedents, it was the same governors too that in no small measure truncated that local government autonomy. So just like they pocketed the local government, the governors too want to pocket this to their own advantage. Here lies the big question. Must democracy be about the interest of a certain group of people?
It shouldn't be.
Must it be about the prevalent interest of what I call transient governors?
Because that, at the end of the day, is what it appears to be.
Yeah, because they're going to leave. They can't spend more than 8 years. They are transient governors.
Correct. Well, all right. Well, there's also the issue of direct primaries, which is one of the biggest subjects, burning at this stage, where people are alleging that, the president is claiming that it might be too expensive at this point. What is your take on that?
Well, the well-known controversial aspect of this bill is the issue of direct primaries, which the legislators, in their wisdom, in their own point of view, should be the way parties elect or pick their candidates. That is the view of the legislature. Of course, the issue of indirect came up, and making direct primary as the only way parties pick their candidate carried the day. And that is democracy in action. Now, the buck stops at the president's table. Either he wants to sign or he doesn't want to sign. I don't buy the idea that some governors are the ones influencing the president. The president has written to INEC, which to me, also is strange to get INEC's view, input, because INEC had opportunity to interact with the National Assembly in the course of this bill. Coincidentally, the issue of direct primaries or indirect primaries was never raised by the legislators when INEC interacted with the National Assembly in the course of the work on this bill. Now, suddenly, in the last minute, these legislators, also thinking of their own interests, felt if they put direct primaries as the only way to pick candidates, it will favor them. Oh, governors who usually have the last word will not be able to influence it. Legislators thinking of their personal interests, governors who are opposing this, thinking of their own parochial, narrow interests. But the president is the one who should sign. And if President Buhari don't sign this bill, I want to hold any governor or group of governors lobbying responsible. We will hold him responsible because he has a track record. Ahead of the 2019 election, 4 times bills were sent to him, 4 times he found excuse. And those who are supporting him are saying, no, no, it's not the president this time around. The president is not running again. So if I were him, I will sign. If we have further amendments to do, we'll do it. I used to cite the issue of the PIB, which was signed into PIA, Petroleum Industry Act. There was so much controversy after that bill was passed.
Took so long, too.
But the president quickly signed. Professor Rotimi was saying, no, that is economy. This is politics. If you don't get the politics right, the economy will not be right.
Yes.
So I think, and the professor should know that the politics is just as important, if not more important, than the economy.
Yes.
Because the person you elect, how you elect him, will determine whether the environment will be conducive for the economy to thrive. So please, the president should just go ahead and do the needful. If he doesn't want to sign, well, it is also within his right as the president not to sign. The National Assembly has said they will go ahead and pass that bill by vetoing the president's non-answered using 2/3. Can the National Assembly do that? Do they have the balls to do that? Do they have the numbers to do that?
Do they have, that's actually the main question. Do they have the numbers to do that? Because
yes, because
they are able to veto.
Yes, if they pass that law as it is, it means perhaps they have the number. But again, it has to be 2/3, not just majority.
Right.
So the danger in that is that, recall that the PDP members in the National Assembly opposed the direct primaries. They wanted the option of direct and indirect to be included in the bill so that the parties can decide which they will choose at any given time. Smaller parties decide whether they want to use direct or indirect. Now, because the PDP members were opposed, can the APC members muster to sort to pass that into law? If they don't, if they cannot, will that not bring us back to the same rigmarole? So the ball stops at the president's table. President Buhari, please sign that bill.
Please sign, President Buhari. Sign it for the future of this country, please.
At this point. Well, that's all on news headlines. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Rotiso Diri and Michael Wilson to give us updates on Africa global business. Stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Well, for an update on global business, Michael Wilson joins us now from London. Good morning, Michael.
Hello there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you all. Just briefly then, so the global overview is this: US stocks actually pulled back. Caution on the new Omicron variant. Obviously, China reported its first case there. I think, however, the most important thing is the University of Oxford published yesterday results of the Oxford AstraZeneca or the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccines. Double vaccination, not enough. You need the booster to stop it. And that's why people are queuing in this country for that. So that third vaccination is most important. Asia Pacific's markets declined, really. Most of them tracking each other downwards. Tech stocks did. Alibaba down about 1.5%. Tencent down about 1%, JD down about 2%. Shares of the Chinese media giant Weibo dropped more than 9%, more regulation there. And China Mobile announced in a filing that it's got approval for a secondary listing in Shanghai. So that's rather helped that particular one. As far as the US is concerned, shares actually, they've been ticking, the futures markets slightly ticking higher ahead of key inflation data later today. And then, of course, the all-important Fed meeting, which we'll hear the results of tomorrow. And Omicron hit airlines, cruise line operators, and all the rest of it. iShares, Russell growth dipped 1.25%. That's a particular little index, but it's still indicative of what's actually happening. So that inflation data actually precedes what the Fed will do. Economists expecting it will show that these are PPI prices, 0.5% for the month. There'll be a slight slowdown in December. Those meme stocks that, now what we mean by that is these stocks that go viral on the internet and then people actually, get into them, but they're high risk stocks. GameStop, AMC, for example, tumble to the lowest levels in a couple of months as people actually get out of those kind of risky positions. Here's a quick one for you. Starting next year, Apple ticking all the boxes, closing in on a $3 trillion, get this, $3 trillion market cap, in which would be another landmark moment for the company. In a little over a year, it hit $2 trillion. It's not that long since it was only 3 years. It hit $1 trillion. How long? For $4 trillion, we ask ourselves. Elon Musk, as far as Tesla's concerned, he sold a further $906 million worth of Tesla shares. He's exercised options to buy some more as well. He's the wealthiest person in the world, and he still has millions of stock options as well. It's believed he's also selling it to pay his taxes. So Omicron, as I said to you earlier on, can hit the fully vaccinated. This is the UK prepares for a tidal wave of cases. Researchers from the University of Oxford tested blood and found that really the booster is the one to go for. As far as UK employment is concerned, slightly better views on that. This has a crucial matter of importance for the Bank of England as to whether on Thursday they will announce that they're raising interest rates or not. The thing is this, that we had, just like the United States, looking at jobs figures to find out if the Bank of England and indeed the Fed would do that. They feel as though employment's rising. However, the variant throws a considerable amount of doubt amidst all that. So again, it's more risk and the rest of it, and adds to the all uncertainty. UK variant cases grow by 200,000 a day. And the Prime Minister Boris Johnson faces a backlash from businesses locked down by stealth. That's what they're calling it. It's going to be a big vote in the House of Commons later today. Conservative MPs are going to rebel. Traffic at London Underground down by about 30%. So it is either way a sort of lockdown and so on. And lots of businesses actually calling for more help, including the food industry, which is pointing to more supply chain difficulties as well. The National Farmers Union saying these kind of things exactly as you'd expect, that these supply chain things are stopping food getting to the shelves and so on. As far as the NatWest is concerned, in the UK, fined £265 million for failing to keep an eye on money laundering. Apparently, this included £700,000 worth in cash carried into one particular branch in bin bags. I mean, how crazy is that? UK, Richard Branson, he's putting more money into Virgin Atlantic to try to keep it afloat. His brother, Virgin Group, owns 51% of it. Delta owns 49%. Delta's putting in 196 million. Branson is putting in over 200 million. Finally, as far as commodities are concerned, oil stabilizes basically on the fact we just don't know about how far Omicron is actually going to go. And gold, really, as much as you'd expect, is pretty range-bound ahead of the Fed. So that's it's going to be a tumultuous week for the way in which central banks, both sides of the Atlantic, actually face up to what is a very, very difficult subject and difficult thing to define, which is the new variant. That is your global view, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning.
Difficult subject, I should say, because of what is happening across the Atlantic. So two things. Number one will be about the impending inflation in cargo costs that will be happening because of Omicron. I mean, how's the world going to deal with that? Secondly, I'd like to talk about the UK. Things happen to be looking up for the banking sector in the UK now. There was a stress test recently, for banks in the UK, and they came out tops, and that's quite good, some exciting times. That's another one. I'd like you to comment on that. And thirdly, what is happening out of China? Kazai too is down, you know. Apart from Evergrande, Kazai too is having a lot of problems. These people can't pay their credits. They can't pay money to those that hold their bonds and the likes. And China is not coming clean with it. So is it an indication of an imminent implosion in the property market in China? And will that feed back to growth numbers? Because we all know that property market has always prepared growth out of China.
I think you're right about China. It's very, very difficult to know what's going on there. I think, as we've said before, and I think we said yesterday, didn't we? My kind of view of it, and I think I shared this with you, Rufai, is that actually what's happening is that China is managing the dismemberment of this company behind closed doors. I mean, they've got now government officials, or whatever they call them, authority officials on the committees, which are looking at all these property companies and so on. And this is going to be a really, really interesting move, isn't it, in 2022? We will hear about it. As I say, I don't think there'll be allowed to be a big implosion. I think all this will be propped up. But as you've said often in the past about this, it's just not a business model, and it's absolutely crazy. As far as the banks, the bank stress test. Now, this was introduced, remember, after the financial crisis in 2008. Basically, they throw as much as they can against the banks. I mean, I'm hoping now this is fairly sensible. I think they probably have to have slightly less of a cash cushion than they were supposed to have in post 2008. But that becomes a competitive thing, doesn't it? That's really on where you're going to base your bank, actually. But it's good that they passed the stress test. No complaints about that whatsoever. I really don't see how you can also, actually anticipate everything that's going to be rolled up against you if you're a bank. But I think that they've done this reasonably well. As far as Omicron's concerned, I don't necessarily think it'll add to inflation. It depends really on what demand there is. I mean, as far as this country is concerned, people are retreating behind closed doors. Now, whether that actually means they're going to shop and they're going to spend their saved up money, I don't think they are. So, I mean, and this is something which the Bank of England is when they go into their meeting, begins tomorrow and then extends into Thursday when we get the result at midday on Thursday and the press conference or the news conference after that. What are they actually going to do? I suspect there would be a muffled round of applause if they did slightly raise interest rates, because there was a joke last month when they just didn't do it, having indicated that they were going to do it, and of course now they're saying, well, we'll see how unemployment actually is affected. Well, as I've said to you this morning, last month employers added 250,000 jobs to their payroll. So as far as the furlough scheme is concerned, employment seems to be gradually trickling back. Now it's a question, though, of what this variant is actually going to do to the economy. And of course, nobody can predict it. I mean, this tidal wave is huge, isn't it? When you think about it, London Underground down 30% in terms of travel, and that's on low levels to start with. And it's increasing in our capital city by 200,000 cases a day. That's serious stuff.
Well, Michael, I wanted to talk to you about Elon Musk, who's just been named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. It's amazing that he's able to maintain his position as the world's wealthiest man. And, he obviously has kept his promise to, give up 10% of his stake, in Tesla. Talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, it depends what you think about it, doesn't it? I mean, as a company, I think that 2022 is going to be quite a challenge for it. He has already spoken to his dealer network around the world, saying lower the expectation of getting the vehicles delivered on time, which I would have thought was pretty serious, actually. So in other words, if you order a Tesla, it's not guaranteed that you will get it when the dealer says you're going to get it. And that's something which he has recognized himself and has said, don't up the ante too much about supplying these kind of cars. Again, the thing about electric cars is they're very well, I mean, the Tesla is a great car. There's no question about it. And the reason it has advantage over its rivals, or most of its rivals, is it was specifically designed to be an electric car, unlike other companies which are having to adapt or buy new manufacturing lines to make sure that they can actually do this. But there are two big things overhanging this. Number one, the cost of second-hand batteries. When is that going to go down, and how long will the batteries actually last? And number two, the most important one, is where is the infrastructure which is supplying electricity to these cars? I mean, where I live, it's fairly densely populated, and you're seeing more and more of these things every day. But we haven't seen the queues yet, and we might see that. I've been wondering if we're going to see stories about that over the Christmas period, when people actually maybe, variant notwithstanding, they may be getting in their cars and may be driving. Will there be big queues to get the cars charged up, which still take between 15 and 20 minutes to do? So this is as far as Musk is concerned, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's actually softening the blow. He's trying to get his retaliation in first and pay off some of his taxes. But the weakness with him is that I feel as though he's running his company by Twitter, which is not the way to go. And certainly, if I were in charge of financial authorities, I'd take a pretty dim view of that. But all in all, if it can deliver the cars and the infrastructure follows or precedes it, then all well and good. It's firmly in control of this enormous transition that we're going to see over the next few years.
Okay, Michael Wilson, two quick ones. The apple is big and the apple is getting bigger. Apple, $3 trillion capitalization by next year. That is not the last. It's like by the end of the year, we'll be looking at 4 trillion. The end of next year, we'll be looking at 4 trillion capitalization for this tech giant. And also, in the UK, Omicron variant spreading, I don't want to say like wildfire. In London, 44% of the infections now is Omicron variant, while UK-wide is 20% of all infections now Omicron variant infection. Are we looking at a lockdown without necessarily using that word lockdown in the UK or even in the London area very soon?
Well, you're certainly right about it spreading like wildfire. I mean, it's spreading faster than wildfire. It's 200,000 cases a day. And as you quite rightly say, it'll be the dominant variant fairly soon, if it is not right now. I can tell you, having been into London yesterday, that people are very, very scared about this. They're scared about... I went to a party with friends, very distant and all the rest of it, over the weekend, and that most of the people did not go to the party. So we were rattling around. There was plenty to eat and drink. Thanks very much indeed. But... unfortunately, people they're very, very worried about this. They don't necessarily. Well, basically, what worries them is the scientists just do not know enough about this present rate. They know a bit about it, and they are very good in this country, as they are in Africa, about looking and about tracing these kind of things. But it's just the unknown. So to answer your question, I feel I don't know. I think it might be a bit more of a self-imposed lockdown. I do feel as though people are retreating behind closed doors. My wife and I going out today, but I suspect it'll probably be one of the few times that we do actually stray beyond the house, because we just don't want to pick it up, and we do understand it's spreading. We both got the booster, so from that point of view we're okay because we're fairly old. But the fact of the matter is that that's what people are clamoring for right now. As far as Apple is concerned, yes, it's an extraordinary milestone, isn't it? $3 trillion, and maybe 4 trillion next year. Who knows? I mean, all these. The thing about Apple is that it's got over, I think anyway, this need to produce a new product every time there's a new product launch. It's got good products right now. It improves them all the time. Will it suffer the fate of Standard Oil, for example, in the 1930s, when these companies get too big? Do lots of people look at them and think, I think we need to break this up? I mean, if there's any suspicion or a scintilla of suspicion about them abusing their massive market dominance, then I feel as though, particularly in a Democrat-controlled, although it's fairly thin control, Democrat-controlled United States, I think it'll start there if it does. We'll see.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Rotus Odiri to give us updates on Africa business. Stay with us. Well, welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Our dependable Rotus Odiri is here to give us Africa Business Update. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, OG. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Mr. Ifeni. Good morning to all our viewers. Yeah, so on the African front, the big news, of course, is the Mafab Communications and MTN Nigeria paying well over $500 million to acquire 5G license from the auction that took place, 3.5 gigahertz auction. Bosun Omofaya was with you on the morning show yesterday, and he was with me on his show, Arise Exchange, at 7 p.m. in the evening. So they were there for well over 10 hours with this auction that just kept going and going and going. I think it topped out at $273 million for each of them, for MTN and Mafab. And what this means, I mean, this is big. I mean, Minister Pantami, who you're seeing there on your screen, Dr. Issa Pantami, the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, talked a lot about what 5G means for fighting insecurity. Kaduna Governor El Rufai had talked about the need for drones to be able to address insecurity there. Mr. Pantami talks about, telemedicine, being able to, there are apps and an ecosystem that is just waiting for 5G to be deployed in Nigeria. You can talk to, virtually speak to a doctor and get a diagnosis over your phone. You've got the financial inclusion aspect. You've got the e-Naira that's just been launched. All this comes together. As we speak now, 5G is only available in Kenya and South Africa. And you can see what it means for both of those economies and what it means for distributing, as far as reducing latency, higher bandwidth, and so on and so forth. So it's a pretty big deal. And at this point, we're going to see, hopefully, the 5G plan from the federal government is supposed to spread this, scale it across Nigeria by 2025. Now, of course, as far as the payment is concerned for the license, they have to make the two companies have to make payment by February the 24th of 2022. So lots to go on there. Still more 5G news. Ethio Telecom, which is Ethio Telecom, is in Ethiopia. Telecom company. They're beginning 5G trials in order to get that spread around Ethiopia. So remember, Ethiopia has been trying to getting more players in the telecommunications sector to come into their country. So, again, this is still very, very early. So over in Ethiopia, they're also exploring 5G. We are ahead of where they are because they're just starting their trials now. After the trials, they then go to where, make the pathway to where Nigeria is with respect to getting spectrum auctioned off to telecommunications companies. So, look, this is the bridge between developing nations and developed economies. It is connectivity, and it is being able to advance the narrative as to what is possible. Minister Pantami also talked about the Internet of Things. Let me give you an example. Nike made an announcement yesterday that they purchased a virtual sneaker creator. I think they're called RTFKW. This is what they do. What you're looking at here are virtual sneakers. These are virtual assets. You don't actually physically own them. They are owned in the metaverse conversation that Facebook is taking us to. You need stronger connectivity in order for Internet of Things to manifest itself in digital assets that you can own. But your connectivity has to be strong. This is an entirely new ecosystem that is being created where people are owning land, items in a completely virtual environment, but you are using actual currency to pay for them. So this is the gap between where we are and where the developed world is. Nike has acquired, I think, about 6 or 7 trademarks earlier in the year in order to be able to bridge the gap to go into this. So this is where we're going to, to progress to with respect to what this means. Aside from this, Checkers and ShopRite, Checkers is the subsidiary of ShopRite over in South Africa. For e-commerce, they've partnered with a company called RTT Group. They are a logistics company. I remember I gave you data on Black Friday last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, where I talked about how Black Friday and e-commerce is growing in South Africa, and the numbers are there to prove it. So you've got ShopRite and you've got Checkers wanting to capitalize on that in order to grow e-commerce in Southern Africa, and that still is still tied to internet connectivity. So that's our.
I'm really very excited, and all the stories, have a thread that connects them.
Yep.
Advancement.
Nice pun.
Yeah, they have a thread. It's advancement. It's going to the very next level. I mean, when you look at, let's start from 1G. You can see how 1G accelerated the development of the world. Then 2G.
Right.
Then 3G. You can see what 3G opened us up to. Then 4G. Streaming and the likes and things like that.
Thank you. I didn't even mention streaming.
Work from
Thank
home.
you.
Yeah. If you had not increased, things like up to 4G, you'll be able to watch things like Netflix. Then entertainment or Rise Play, or entertainment is brought closer to you.
Right.
It opened up those new areas. And the amazing thing is, it's the transitioning of industry that blows my mind. So let me go back to the Netflix story. In 96, 97, Netflix started just like Blockbuster.
Right.
Was a video rental, just like a video club. What they'll do is that they'll take the CD, post it to you,
right,
and you'll get the post, watch it. After watching it, you put it in the
mailbag
mailbag back and post it back. That's how Netflix started.
Yeah.
But because of iteration of speed of the internet, 3G, 4G, they don't need to post that via your mail to you again. I'll post the CD to you that you can watch the movie. You just go out there, you click on the box and you see it, and you watch it just with data and streaming. So that's the power and the capacity.
And then think of smart TVs.
And the smart TVs and the connectivity and IoT, Internet of Things. In fact, there are refrigerators now that once milk is finishing, it will go to an e-commerce company like Checkers and the likes and order milk there, and it will be delivered and you put it in the fridge. And that's the connectivity of things. And the world has gone ballistic. And that's why Africa is going to, with fire. That's why I'm excited about what MTN and MAFAB is doing. Yeah. Hopefully the third guy, Airtel too, should be able to come into the fray at some point. Some good revenue for the federal government. It shows that tech do work. And I expect the federal government to plow that money back into broadband and development. They shouldn't just spend that money. We need to open up broadband. We need to open up base stations. Like May 1 was sold recently. Federal government too should get into the business of building base stations and the likes.
Exactly.
But lastly, you asked for a data last week when you talked about the South African data for e-commerce Black Friday.
Yep.
So I've got privileged information. I was talking to one of the head honcho of this big e-commerce sites in Nigeria. And he told me in confidence that at Black Friday, they struggled to do about 8 billion.
But you see, it's privileged information.
It's privileged
That's
information.
The problem. It's supposed to be open.
In the public.
That's
so
the
if
problem.
the biggest struggle to do 8 billion,
then they're not,
and the other one coming after,
then they're not making money.
Then it means that we need to put more into that market because there's a lot of possibility. Population of 200 million, we should be struggling to do 8 billion. What are the problems with e-commerce? Fulfillment.
Last mile.
And it goes back to 5G.
Right.
Ecosystem adaptation. It's really important. Address numbering system. Fulfillment. So it all ties around.
I wanted to touch on the Issa Pantami's comment on how 5G would help with the insecurity.
Right.
Just so you know, he came under fire on social media with that particular comment because, it's like, okay, so all of a sudden we need robots to fight insecurity. Is that all we've been waiting for at this point? But I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense because if this 5G technology can give us information in real time,
quickly,
it is one of the biggest issues that we'll have. And I believe I took a story at one point, Rufai, if you recall, where we had this guy that was making robots and he was really seeking for federal government funds.
That's true.
And so I think that it's a win-win at this point.
Indeed. Mr. Ifeni.
Yeah. Well, kudos to MAFAB and MTN because yesterday on this show, I asked Bobson or Mofai, of these three, who will get a license and who will not get? He said that was a very difficult question. We'll have to wait till the end. Now we know.
Yes.
So kudos to these companies that actually made it through, paying so much, $273 million for each of those licenses. Now for the government, good money. Yes, you said government should not spend all the money, plow some back, but I don't think government should be building base stations. They should leave that to private sector to do that. Anything government does, we have problematic.
Oh, yeah, that's
we'll be talking of
true.
privatization.
That's true.
So please,
God,
let the private
true.
people just go on with the building of base stations. But I agree with you that the government should plow some of this money into developing, creating the environment for more IT in the system. And we are there. So 5G, we are there. We are ready to go. But we also have to ensure that there is penetration, so that we don't have it as a city or major urban area phenomenon. Because one of the problems when we're talking about electronic transmission of results, and some people say, some senators, it's not in my village. You cannot transmit. So
network.
We need penetration. So
Yes.
5G should not be an urban phenomenon in Nigeria, because when there's penetration, then we talk of inclusiveness. And of course, the rural folk, surprisingly, will key in into this, because almost everybody has a smartphone these days. But when the minister was talking about now with 5G we can fight insecurity, I thought what we have already, if you deploy, you can fight insecurity.
No, that's what everyone
Why are
says.
you not using your drones?
Yes.
When people are using drones to cover, even with the 4G we have now.
The Super Tucano is supposed to be a game changer. Super Tucano.
Well, so I think we don't have to wait for 5G to deploy technology to fight insecurity. But it has to be part of the talk on a day like that.
Because the technology is there already at this point. Well,
so good one for those companies that have the license now. They have up to February 24, 2022 to pay. It's not enough to bid. You have to pay. Recall some companies in the days of GSM had a problem of paying. And of course, the system will shut you out and call for the next person if you cannot pay. So I'll be looking forward to February 2024, 2022 to see how these two giants will pay up.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you
so much, Rotus.
Thank you.